Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview brought to you today from central Paris. On today's programme, I have the pleasure of welcoming one of the most popular politicians, not just in Egypt, but in the Arab world, a politician so popular that he's had a pop song written about him, a politician so popular that it is rumoured that he was made Secretary General of the Arab League in order to get him out of the Egyptian Foreign Ministry, where he was seen to be rather overshadowing the president of the time, Hosni Mubarak. I'm speaking, of course, of Amr Moussa. Mr. Moussa, thanks very much indeed for being with us. Now, the last time we met, a year ago, an eternity, given what's happened in Egypt, we were looking ahead to a presidential election where rather timid changes were being considered to the constitution that might have allowed independent candidates to stand. I had asked you at the time whether Egypt was ready for change. You hadn't really been drawn. Do you regret now not having spoken louder sooner about the changes that Egypt needed?
No, we all expected that change will take place because of the very difficult situation, an unprecedented situation that we all felt it cannot continue, and that change is coming. I really predicted that in the Arab Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh a week before the revolution. It was on the 19th of January. In the presence of the former President Mubarak and others, I said that the Tunis revolution is not far from here, and that the frustration that caused that revolution is all over the Arab world, and in every place, in every city, in every country.
How had they responded?
They were taken aback, and those who saw them from afar saw the expression of astonishment and of dismay of what I have said. And it was broadcast live, therefore it reached everybody. I really felt that there is a change, but what kind of change? That's why we were not sure what kind of change that it would happen.
Now, in just a few days' time, of course, you will leave the Arab League and concentrate full-time on your campaign ahead of this autumn's election in Egypt, the kind of election we couldn't possibly have predicted a year ago, an open election in which there'll be all sorts of candidates, no doubt, but in which you are a front-runner. Is not one of the difficulties for you with regard to the electorate, the Egyptian electorate, that having served as Hosni Mubarak's foreign minister for 10 years, you will be seen as a man of the former regime?
Well, I was the foreign minister of Egypt. And the performance was supported overwhelmingly by the people, Egyptian people and Arab people. I believe the foreign minister of Egypt was at its best at that time, with a lot of independence of action and movement, very quick action and reaction of the foreign minister. I'm proud of those years very much. The fact that I was foreign minister at the time of former President Mubarak, I'm not alone in this. The current prime minister was also minister in one of the cabinets at the same time. Therefore, I see that we have experience and a very good, solid record of service of Egypt. And after all, it is the budget of Egypt that paid my salary, not an individual who did so. So I belong to Egypt, and I believe that the experience accumulated would allow me and others like me to serve the country and add to the work that needs to be done in order to deal with the very serious situation left by the ancien regime.
You allude to your popularity in your time as foreign minister. I mentioned the song a moment ago, which everyone remembers. One of the things that earned you huge credit, not just in Egypt, but throughout the Arab world, are your views with regard to the Palestinians. Were you to be elected president, how would Egypt's stance change?
Well, in fact, Egypt's position will have to get back to a position of influence in the region and to take the right, to follow the right policy. The right policy is to follow peace, is to establish peace. not at any price, and not just to move around joining meetings and conferences and so on, but to work diligently and seriously to establish peace. And this is what I intend to do in case I am elected. What we need in Egypt, what we are going to do anyway, is to rebuild the country. And rebuilding the country requires a peace around us, requires stability around us. And certainly it does not need any adventurous policy. But at the same time, when we need peace, we need fairness also. And our commitment to the Palestinian statehood is unshakable. Under no circumstances we can just ignore that. The current government, the previous government, and the opposition to President Mubarak, and many of the why people were angry. One of the reasons were that people felt that the policy, Egyptian policy, was not tough enough to deal with things that should have been answered differently.
Looking ahead to this autumn's election, we've seen this extraordinary revolution. The Muslim Brotherhood have announced that they will, in fact, be fielding candidates in the election, whereas previously they'd said that they would not. Is there a danger of Egypt going down the road of greater sectarianism?
Well, democracy is democracy. It requires a place for every group or party or current, whatever. I don't think that any group will get a clear majority. But at the same time, I believe that other parties, other currents, need more time. That is why, in my opinion, the parliamentary elections should be delayed in favor of the presidential elections. But the democratic process has to start, either by a constituent assembly elected to approve a constitution, or by the president elected to lead this process. But then later on, the parliamentary elections would take place.
On that question of the constitution, there is, of course, this question mark over how much needs to change. Should it be entirely rewritten? Should it be reworked? Considering Article 2, for instance, the idea that Islam is the religion of Egypt, that the judicial system is based at its heart on Sharia law. Are these things that Egypt should now get rid of in favor of a system that would no doubt reassure the Coptic minority and go in the direction of a properly pluralistic, modern, secular state?
Well, the new constitution will have to be a constitution that takes into consideration that we live in the 21st century. Therefore, the basic principles of human rights, fundamental freedoms, the development of all sectors of society, including women, the transparency, the basic rights as enshrined all over the world and in the basic documents on that issues, they all should be enshrined in the Constitution as basic rights and basic principles and basic articles in the Constitution. As for Article 2, that alludes to the general principles of Sharia, I believe that we better not open that issue. Article 2 should and would continue. But at the same time, other articles highlighting the equal rights of all citizens, the equal treatment, that no discrimination on the basis of whatever color, creed, or religion should be also enshrined. All those principles should be taken together, and not to single out one article and say, hey, this says so. No, it is not so. It is the totality of the basic articles that have to be taken into consideration, and I believe that there will be a well-balanced group of articles that guarantees for everybody.
Broadening things out from Egypt for a moment, looking at the rest of the Arab world in these extraordinary times that we're going through, it was the vote of the Arab League just ahead of that UN vote that led to the intervention in Libya that indeed prompted it, allowed it to happen. Shortly afterwards, you had rather seemed to come back on the idea that it had been a good thing to revisit how you'd felt about intervention in Libya. Is the West right to be in Libya? Should it be there? And is what it's doing the right thing?
we addressed this issue in two steps. First, that we decided the unanimous resolution of the Council to suspend the participation of Libya in the work of the Arab League because of their treatment or maltreatment of the Libyan citizens and civilian population. Then it was moved by two member states that a no-fly zone should be established in order to protect the civilian population from the attacks, especially the aerial attacks. It was adopted by vast majority, 20 votes to 2, with 2 reservations, but 20 votes, that we should request the Security Council to take the necessary measures to establish a no-fly zone. So the Arab League, as a regional organization, has addressed the United Nations as the World Organization with a recommendation or with a request, with a view to protect the civilian populations, not to occupy Libya or to attack Libya or to divide Libya or to partition Libya, but to protect the civilian population in Libya. The resolution, as you know, which is 1973, stipulates in no uncertain terms that there will be no invasion and no occupation of the land of Libya, the territory of Libya, and also refers to or reaffirms the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Libya. Therefore, the sole thing that we have requested is to establish a no-fly zone to protect the civilian population.
Is that not what the West has done?
Excuse me?
Is that not what the coalition has done?
No, that is what it was implemented in the way that we see. My position was, when I was asked that, what about civilian populations if civilian injuries or losses result of the attacks? I said, I reaffirmed the position again. Number one, that we continue to respect the Security Council resolution with all its stipulations. 1. 2, our goal is to protect the civilian population against any attack. So we hope that the actions in establishing a no-fly zone would not result in civilian casualties. But we continue to stick to the Security Council resolution. No, at any moment, we haven't never retreated from that position.
So has the coalition gone too far?
Well, what we are talking now, and the coalition is talking, and we are talking with them, is a political. The time has come for a political solution. That's what we need. That's what we want. And perhaps we're going to meet in a week's time or 10 days. UN, EU, Arab League, AU, African Union, and the Islamic Conference to decide on that. Not decide, to follow up, because we already talked about a ceasefire. A genuine ceasefire under international observation, international supervision. But at the same time, I believe, and all of us, I believe, there is a unanimity here that Libya cannot get back to status quo ante. It's very difficult after all what happened to just consider that nothing happened and then life gets back to where it has been. This is not the case. We'll see there must be a transition, and we'll see what kind of new Libya that would emerge.
Amr Moussa, thanks ever so much for having been our guest today. That's all there's time for in this edition of the France 24 interview. We'll be back, though, again for another very soon. Do stay with us on France 24.